I sat in my office looking at the family photo on my desk. Sofia smiled at the camera, happy and carefree. Next to her stood Victoria, her mother, my mother-in-law. Looking at her made my stomach involuntarily clench. Memory helpfully took me back 2 years ago, to the day when I first crossed the threshold of their house. "Thomas, meet my mom!" Sofia exclaimed excitedly, pushing me towards an elegant woman in her mid-40s. Victoria extended her hand. "Nice to meet you." Her brown eyes lingered on me a moment longer than necessary. I felt slightly dizzy. Before me stood an older version of my girlfriend, but with some special, alluring energy. That evening, we talked a lot. Sofia ran off to help her father with the grill, while Victoria and I remained alone on the veranda. The conversation flowed easily. She turned out to be an interesting conversationalist with a sharp mind and excellent sense of humor. I caught myself admiring how she tossed her hair back, how gracefully she held her wine glass. The next few weeks turned into a strange game. Sofia often left us alone, not suspecting what tension arose between us. Accidental touches, long glances, ambiguous phrases, we were balancing on the edge. Everything changed one rainy evening. Sofia asked me to stop by her parents' house. She had left her purse with her documents there. Victoria opened the door. The house was unusually quiet. I walked into the hallway, listening to the rain outside. Our eyes met, and something seemed to click between us. We both knew it was wrong, but couldn't resist the attraction. One step forward, and our lips met in a desperate, hungry kiss. 2 weeks of madness, stolen meetings, passionate embraces, guilt. We both knew it was wrong. When Sofia announced her pregnancy, I made my decision. True, she lost the baby. But by that point, I had already firmly decided I had to be with her, only with her. The wedding was beautiful. Victoria maintained herself perfectly. No one suspected what had happened between us. We agreed to forget everything and start with a clean slate. But can you forget something that your own conscience constantly reminds you of? "Honey, please pass the salt." Sofia's voice pulled me from my thoughts. We sat at the large table in my mother-in-law's house. Family dinner. A tradition you can't escape. Victoria sat across from me, elegant as always. A dark blue dress accentuated her figure. Our eyes accidentally met, and I quickly looked away. "Thomas works so much lately," Sofia was saying, serving salad. "I hardly see him." "Work is important," Victoria responded, "especially for a man." There was some special intonation in her voice, or did I imagine it? After dinner, Sofia went to help her father with the new TV. I went out to the backyard to get some air. Heard footsteps behind me. Victoria. "We haven't talked in a long time," she said quietly. "Maybe that's for the best." "Yes, maybe." She stood too close. I could smell her perfume, the same one as 2 years ago. "Vic," I began, but she interrupted me. "Don't. I miss our conversations." At that moment, the front door slammed. Sofia was calling us for tea. A week later, I stopped by my mother-in-law's to pick up some old photo albums that Sofia had requested. Victoria was home alone. "They're on the top shelf," she said, leading me into the living room. "I'll get them." She reached for the albums. I instinctively stepped closer to help. Our hands touched. A second of silence. It was like a moment of madness. Time stopped. Reality dissolved in a whirlwind of feelings. We forgot about everything. Morality, duty, consequences. The room spun around us, and rain pattered outside the window, as if trying to drown out the voice of conscience. When it was over, reality crashed down on us with merciless clarity. Afterward, we sat in silence for a long time, straightening our clothes and avoiding looking at each other. "This was a mistake." I broke the silence first. "Of course," she responded. "Of course, a mistake." But we both knew we were lying. The next 2 months turned into torture. Every time Sofia suggested visiting her parents, everything inside me tensed up. I made up excuses, cited work, but sometimes had to agree. During such moments, Victoria and I carefully avoided each other, but it didn't help. The electricity between us was almost palpable. Once Sofia even asked, "Did you two have a fight? Why do you barely talk?" One day Victoria called me at my work phone. "I know this is wrong," her voice trembled, "but I can't stop thinking about you, about us." We agreed to meet at a cafe on the other side of town. Just to talk, we told each other. Just to clarify things. The conversation was stilted. We sat staring into our cups of cold coffee, and then I felt her foot slowly sliding up my leg under the table. "Come to my place," she whispered. "John's away on business until tomorrow." I should have refused. Instead, I nodded. That day we crossed the line again. It turned into a vicious cycle of forbidden meetings, hasty, hurried, full of guilt and fear of exposure. "We shouldn't be doing this," she would say each time. "This will destroy us all." But we were both too weak to stop. I understood what she meant. Every time I looked at Sofia, I felt like the ultimate scoundrel. But desire was stronger than conscience. Everything changed at Sofia's birthday. We gathered as a large group at a restaurant. Victoria came wearing that same dark blue dress that drove me crazy. All evening I couldn't take my eyes off her. At some point, she went to the ladies' room. Like a complete idiot, I followed her. We collided in an empty corridor. One touch, and we were kissing, pressed against the wall. "Oh!" came a surprised exclamation. We jumped apart. Jane, Sofia's friend, stood at the end of the corridor. She stared at us with eyes wide with shock. I didn't see anything," she mumbled and quickly left. "Damn!" Victoria exhaled. "Damn, damn, damn!" We didn't talk anymore that evening, but we both understood we'd gone too far. Jane might talk, and then everything would fall apart. A week later, Sofia started acting strangely. She would look at me for long periods with some new expression in her eyes, as if trying to figure something out. "You've been different lately," she said one evening. "Is something happening at work?" "Everything's fine," I lied. "Just tired." Victoria also noticed the changes in her daughter's behavior. "We need to talk," she wrote to me. "Urgently." We met at the same cafe. Victoria looked exhausted with shadows under her eyes. "Sofia suspects something," she began without preamble. "I've seen how she looks at us. She no longer believes the story about us just having a fight." My heart skipped a beat. "What makes you think that?" "A mother's heart." She started asking questions. Why I always get tense when you're around. Why I stopped inviting you over as often as before. "And what did you tell her?" "Nothing coherent. She pretended to believe me, but I can see she senses something's wrong." Victoria paused. "Thomas, this can't continue." I knew she was right, but the thought of never touching her again physically hurt. "We have to end everything," she continued, "for Sofia's sake, for our families." "I know." "This will be our last meeting." I looked up. She was crying silently, almost imperceptibly. A small tear rolled down her cheek. "Come to my place," she suddenly said. "One last time, to say goodbye." It was a mistake, and we both knew it, but we couldn't help ourselves. It was our last time, a farewell to the madness we called love. We both understood that after this day, we would have to return to reality and face the consequences of our actions. We remained silent, understanding this was truly the end, that there would be nothing more and shouldn't be. "I love you," she whispered. "Don't. I just wanted you to know." When I returned home, Sofia was sitting in the living room, in complete darkness. Only her illuminated phone lit her face. "Where were you?" she asked in an unusually quiet voice. "At work," I lied. "Stop lying." She raised her eyes to me. "I called there. You left 4 hours ago." I looked at my wife and couldn't utter a word. My throat was dry. "You know," Sofia continued in the same quiet voice, "I felt something for a long time. Call it woman's intuition or whatever you want, but I didn't want to believe it." "Sofia." "Be quiet," she raised her hand. "Let me finish. I followed you today, saw you meeting her at the cafe, saw you going to her house." A heavy silence fell in the room. I felt cold sweat running down my back. "How long has this been going on?" she asked. "Sofia, how long?" 2 months, I lied, deciding not to mention what happened before the wedding. She laughed bitterly. "And you think I'll believe that? I've seen how you looked at each other all this time. God, how could I have been so blind?" She stood and walked to the window. Her shoulders were shaking, but she wasn't crying. "You know what's worst?" She turned to me. "I don't even know who I hate more, you or her, my own mother." "Forgive me," was all I could manage. "Forgive?" She laughed, and that laughter sent chills down my spine. "You think a simple sorry can fix everything?" "No, of course not, but I swear it's over. Today was the last time." "Oh, I know," she nodded, "because tomorrow I'm filing for divorce, and I want you to move out. Today. Sofia, please, let's talk." "We have nothing more to talk about, Thomas. Pack your things." An hour later, I sat in my car with a suitcase in the back seat. My phone was blowing up with calls from Victoria, but I didn't answer. It was over. A year has passed. I live in another city, work at a new company. Sofia filed for divorce and got it quickly. I didn't resist. I had no right to. Victoria also got divorced. Her husband learned everything from Sofia. She tried to contact me several times, but I didn't respond. Some mistakes can't be fixed. Sofia, I heard she's dating someone. I hope this person turns out better than me. Sometimes at night, I wake up in a cold sweat. I dream of a dark blue dress, the scent of familiar perfume, and brown eyes looking straight into my soul. But these are just dreams. Reality is an empty apartment, and the realization that I destroyed the lives of everyone I loved, including my own. They say time heals, maybe, but some scars remain forever. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.